Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church. We are a welcoming congregation where we strive to transform ourselves and the world through love, wonder, and connection. My name is Carrie Williams Jensen. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve in a variety of roles, mostly music, a lot of music things, tech, worship committee, and board. And what? Yes, board secretary, yes, but not for long. Sorry, we got senior year coming up, and all right, so today, as we observe Memorial Day weekend, the monthly theme is Awakening Curiosity. And we will be talking about the importance of honoring the past and those we've lost, while still imagining the future with curiosity. Make sure to join us next week for our annual Flower Communion service, where we will also honor the many transitions that are happening as folks are graduating, retiring, or just moving on forward into a new chapter in their lives. And then return the next week for our annual meeting, where we will vote on the slate of new board members and a nominating committee member, as well as approve the 2026-27 budget. And, what? Oh, okay, all right. I was like, did I say something wrong? Or are the captions up to shenanigans? Anyway, whether you are here for the first time or the 1,000th time, welcome. Whatever you are facing in your own life, welcome. This is a place where we try our very best to be real with one another, to get through the hard things together, and to remind ourselves and one another of the values that ground and center us, that motivate and move us. So whoever you are, whatever your faith journey, whomever you love, you are welcome here. We welcome all who seek to know the sacred and all who seek to make our world more just. Now for our chalice lighting, Miss Katie Wheeler will help us to light our chalice. We light this chalice in memory of those who have devoted their lives to democracy and those who make manifest a vision of a brighter future. Thank you. Now for our opening hymn, the Boston-based UU musician Matt Meyer reimagined the familiar Southern or Irish hymn, Bright Morning Stars. And we're going to try this new version with Jonathan and the Hymn Jammers' help. The lyrics will appear on the screen as usual, and will remain seated. Jonathan?
Hello. So it's 4 phrases, and I'll just teach you 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll do it together. So here we go. Okay, so it starts like this. This is the first phrase. Bright morning stars are rising. Let's try that. Bright morning stars are rising. This is the second phrase. Bright morning stars are rising. Let's do that. Bright morning stars are rising. The third one. Bright morning stars are rising.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Sara, and I use she/her pronouns. And to remind ourselves that our commitment as a congregation is to be together in covenant, we share these affirmation words. So please join me, beginning with that all-important word. Love is the message of this church, and service is our way. This is our great covenant together, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We return every week to our centers of connection because we know that rituals bring us closer together. We light our candles of hope and joy and place our stones of sorrow and fear to honor these inner experiences together. As the folks in the room participate in the ritual, those of you joining us online, I invite you to put your name and, if you want a candle or a stone, in the chat so we can all be in this together, and we will include you towards the end of the service. If you're in the room and you would like someone to light a candle for you or place a stone for you, please raise your hand at the end, and we'll do that at the same time. Oh, hey. I can hear me now. Sorry, were you having trouble hearing me for a minute? Okay, great. All right, so now we will participate in the ritual. So I invite anyone who would like to come on forward. We'll light candles in 2 lines, 1 on each side here, and you can do stones in the center there. We will place stones. I'm going to go slowly in case there are more people online. We will place a stone for Elaine. And then Scott can yell out if there are more names. Okay. If you'd like a stone placed for you, please raise your hand. Adina will acknowledge you once she's placed it. And we have some behind you as well. I know. And then we place the one final stone, our big one of all the sorrows and fears that continue to weigh us down. And now we'll place candles for those who are online. And we have Elaine and Maria. Anyone in the room who would like a candle placed for you, please raise your hand. Plenty, okay. Keep them raised so we can make sure to get you. And now we will do one last final candle for all the joys and hopes that keep burning brightly in our spirits all the days of our lives. Will you now join me in our song response, There is a Love? There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
Amen. And hi there. My name is Adina Danuf. I use they or she pronouns, and I am your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. And today we're kind of exploring how curiosity through grief or hardness can be a bridge to imagining something more. And when we ask questions and imagine possibilities and explore new ideas, the world becomes bigger and more interesting. So with that in mind, I'm going to share a story with you about a boy named Harold. And here's the funny thing is this story with 50 slides decided to be on a day where the internet is a little slow. So I'm going to talk, the pictures will happen, and what happens, okay? It's called Harold and the Purple Crown, and it's by Crockett Johnson, and it begins. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. But there wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight. And he needed something to walk on. And he made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost. And he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on that long, straight path. Have you ever done that? You're just walking and you're not getting anywhere. So he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went with him. That's important. Pay attention to that part. The moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. But he didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold, and he backed away. And his hand holding the purple crown shook, and suddenly he realized what was happening. You can't see the picture, so the crown is moving, and all of a sudden he was over his head in an ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail. And the moon sailed along with him. The moon is still there. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. Anybody else hungry today? Yeah, okay. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch where there was nothing but pie. But there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. Here's a pause for a story. Lonan's in the phrase where she asks, "What's your favorite thing?" and you answer her. And then she says, "Okay, but what's your other favorite thing?" And then, so Harold's favorite type of pie is 9 different pies, just letting you know. And when Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He had a slice of 9 pies. I bet he's pretty full. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. I love that the author used the word deserving. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. Children who put themselves to bed, I love this. He hoped he could see his bedroom from the top of the mountain, and as he looked down the other side, he slipped. And there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air, but luckily he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. And he had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows. And he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. But none of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. He got in and he drew up the covers. How clever was that? He's drawing the whole book. You can't see this, okay? Anyway, the purple crown dropped to the floor and Harold dropped off to sleep. And that's the end of this story. And if you know this story, I saw some of you get excited when I started. You realize that I cut out a little bit, right? But Harold just imagines so much in this book, and that's what I love about the story. It really reminds us that with curiosity, almost anything can happen, and there's possibility around every moment. But the story has a hidden meaning for me, which reminds me a little bit of today's theme of remembering and grief. You see, Harold's journey with the moon reminds me of journeys that I've had with grief, right? Kind of like the moon for Harold. Once my grief shows up, it never really goes away. It's there with me through every step, but it doesn't stop me. I find ways to keep going with it there all along, like Harold with the moon. And I encounter ups like the mountain. Anybody been there? Yeah? And downs like falling in the ocean. But I find ways to keep myself steady like the boat or the balloon. And when I'm grieving, sometimes I need to ask for help, like Harold with the moose and the deserving porcupine. And sometimes when I've been grieving, it takes me a long time to get to the place where I want to be, like Harold trying to find his window. And even once I find where I want to be, the grief is still there, as it's always been, right? But I can find peace at the same time, like Harold with his bed. Grief can come up whenever things are hard or lost, or even when they don't end how you thought they might be. But there can usually be a space for curiosity and for wondering, too, alongside your grief, and maybe sometimes beyond it. It's a lifelong journey and one that is better with others there with you. So I hope we can continue together, curious about what may be. You, me, and maybe I forgot to grab it, so this bright orange pencil instead of a purple crayon. For now, let me use this to draw some of us heading off to class. Thank you.
Adina, she's
Well,
not here
good
to
morning,
hear it, but
UUCC folks. My name is Will Cumbia. I am the Outreach and Volunteer Engagement Manager at Reestablish.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to introduce this video that is getting ready to play because on the fourth Sunday of every month we do our Share the Plate program where we give the offering money to a local organization that we believe in. This month we share the plate with Reestablish Richmond, and we're going to watch this video to find out more.
Well, good morning. UUCC folks. My name is Will. Well, good morning. Well, good morning. Morning, UUCC folks. My name is Will Cumbia. I'm the Outreach and Volunteer Engagement Manager at Reestablish Richmond. I'm so sorry that we couldn't be with you there in person this morning, but it's a pleasure to send virtual good morning to you all. Thank you so much. You all have been such great partners in our work at Reestablish Richmond. We are trying to help newcomers, refugees, and new immigrants in the community connect them to resources so that they can establish themselves here in the community, to become self-sufficient in the community. Your partnership has already done so much to help work towards that. You all have supported gifts at the holiday times. You all have volunteered with us. You've given money before, and we're so grateful for that partnership. And we're grateful to continue that partnership this year with the collection that you all are taking up this morning, which will go directly towards our multicultural festival. You all are warmly invited to join us on Saturday, June 27th. We're really excited. This year, we are going to be at the Richmond Raceway, indoors at their Expo Hall 1. So a big air-conditioned space, and we partner with the city of Richmond on this, as well as this year, Henrico County is joining us. So we're really excited. It's going to be bigger than ever. And what this collection this morning is going toward is helping to support some of the ethnic-based community organization and cultural groups that will be performing or bringing a cultural display to the festival. We do a small honorarium for them every year to encourage them to help pay performers and to help pay for supplies to share cultural displays. And it's a really beautiful way for folks to display their cultures, to share their cultures with the broader Richmond community. And your support this morning is helping us do that. So thank you all so much for your generosity this morning. And we encourage you to join us either as a participant at the festival on June 27th or as a volunteer. We would love to have a group of you all come and help support. It's going to be a really fun day. There'll be food trucks, there'll be kids activities. The History Museum is bringing a pop-up display. It's going to be a wonderful time. So we hope that you all can join us, and we're so grateful for your generosity in helping support this amazing and really important event. Enjoy the rest of your morning, and happy Memorial Day weekend to y'all.
Thank you for your offering and all the ways you give to our life and ministry with your time, talent, treasure, and trust. Together, our gifts allow us to expand and strengthen the tapestry of love, wonder, and connection that blesses this church and transforms us and our world. Our reading is called Wind Narrative by Genaro Aguilar Saucillo. The hills are a handful of knuckles under the grass, a lesson in how a country learns to sleep on its dead. I stand where the shadow of a tree stitches my ankles to the earth, a tree without leaves, just bone, just the memory of fruit. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about them, two strangers crossing the field, their dresses fluttering like orchids in the wind as they offered their bodies to this quiet. Back home, my mother folds tortillas into moons, jesana offerings. On the news, a new unnamed face surfaces among Jo Nushmu. We call it mourning, M-O-U-R, in it. But here it reeks of wind-burned grass. I have become the seam the hill stitches shut, the mountains I left behind, dogs barking at Jopa, our days, the stony trail swallowing our tongue and spitting back its foreign alphabet. I think of the fathers that never return by choice. Or lifted off the road like brush, how we inherit a silence and polish it into a benched grammar. We are told to bow our faces to the uncut sky, though it never whispers our names back. A branch points toward this pale arch, and they ask us to call that doorway home. I want to say I am safe, I do. That distance uncrooks a landscape, but my bones crackle in the wind of every border they crossed. All our names beneath the orchard back home. I press my ear to the hill. It beats. It beats. Who have you become in this bright, razored field? I have become the bare branches, the shadow, the deer. I'm thinking of both my mothers meandering these plains, turning the grass until their faces flicker in the roots again.
Get it flat. Okay. Honestly, this is kind of hard to say. I struggle with preaching a sermon on Memorial Day because I don't know how to honor the dead without dishonoring their sacrifice. Because I deeply disagree that war could ever be the correct answer. And I don't like having to speak positively about war by claiming that the people who died and sacrificed their lives, it was for a noble cause. I think every life lost in war is a tragedy, and it speaks more to why we need peace than any other argument. And people who have lost their lives fighting wars have done so often with the understanding that they are serving their country by protecting democracy or bringing freedom from oppression to other countries. Sometimes they've been right, but often the war is about something less noble than those aspirations. And to me, that is as much of a tragedy as the lives lost, the fact that they were used for their noble aspirations and made to do awful things that didn't actually serve the people they wanted to serve. In that way, their sacrifice loses meaning. And people who have lost family members want their lost lives to mean something, to have meaning. We want our loved ones not to have suffered and died at all, but then not to have been removed from our lives at all. But if they have been, at least they were doing it for a noble reason. Who am I to say, though, that their death isn't actually something that made the world better? I don't know. This is really scary to say. I feel really nervous. So now, instead of offending someone by not talking about Memorial Day, I'm offending all of you by saying I don't want to talk about it and why. I'm totally aware that this is not necessarily true, but I wanted to be honest about where I am, because I think that some people are where I am and some people are not, and that is a tightrope that we walk in this community together. I do realize that it's important to honor people, the people who we love who are no longer with us, and the reason that Memorial Day started in the first place is a good one. Way back after the Civil War was over, a group of formerly enslaved Black people decided to create graves and decorate them and memorialize the Union soldiers who fought for their freedom so they could remember them. And soon the tradition caught on, and people all over the country were doing the same and decorating the graves of those lost and getting together to remember them. It was brought to the whole country and became a day that we honor those who've lost in war. So it became a day of getting together with family. That, I think, is a great way to honor our dead, to be together talking about the lives that they've led, to talk about the stories we have together. I think this is also the main purpose of the Day of the Dead in Mexico, to come together with family and friends to remember the people who are gone together. This kind of collective mourning is something that we just don't do that much anymore in the United States. We often bury the dead, say a prayer, move on. But collective mourning is collective mourning of what we have lost is a profoundly healing experience. This is what Memorial Day was meant to be, right? A way for the entire country to take a healing break, to be surrounded by loved ones while we grieved our other lost ones. When we don't do collective mourning, we can't do collective healing. And I think we're a little sunk still, even now, after our COVID-19 losses. The entire country just moved on without pausing to recognize the millions of people that died in the pandemic. Millions of people all over the world are gone from an illness that indiscriminately took lives with no moral lesson to be taught or learned as individuals. So the lost lives somehow have no meaning. And we are still struggling with how to cope with all of that. People are still dying from COVID. And now we have several new contagious diseases spreading around the globe, taking lives again, creating fear again, and yet we cannot even cognitively process the numbers of people lost, the numbers of families broken, let alone emotionally process the grief of all that we've lost. And when we don't process grief, we pass down emotional and generational trauma. And as I've said before, we need to feel our feelings if we are to heal from our traumas. And this is us individually, but it's also us collectively. We had a pandemic in 1919, and people just didn't talk about it that much after the dying slowed down. It was all overshadowed by World War I, which honestly, no country had a chance to process that grief either, culturally, of course, which made World War II even more of a nightmare because all of the folks with PTSD were going back into war or were sending their own babies into what they knew firsthand were horrific situations. But all that trauma was there in the culture, even if we didn't talk about it. Tragedy continues to affect people for literal generations. My grandfather was still dealing with the repercussions of his own grandparents' trauma from the Civil War, 100 years or more after the fact. You could call my second great-grandfather a hero for fighting in the Union side of the Civil War, or you could categorize his death as an abandonment of his wife and 7 children. Their struggles to survive after that loss led to hunger, which led to premature child death and family abandonment and abuse and neglect, which never taught the next generation how to do any better, which left the family with more trauma, more abuse and neglect. And luckily, the cycle was broken with my grandfather and his father and my mother, so that my family is not still carrying that trauma into now. But there are generation upon generation upon generation of roiling traumas in each of our families, boiling over on a national scale over things we didn't even remember really because our families never talk about it. Because moving on is easier in the short term and necessary for survival most of the time. So we need to mourn what we have lost. We need to put up monuments to our grief, open museums to the tragedies so we can share our grief together and begin the national healing. And then we can do what needs to be done, which is beginning to imagine a better future. Eventually, we'll need to shift our attention from the past, which we have no influence on whatsoever, towards what is to come, which is still a malleable substance. It's still up to us to shape what is to come by not giving up prematurely. We have to be Harold with his purple crayon and keep going, keep making things until we can make our way back home again. It's up to us to keep our hopes and dreams front and center so that we don't get mired in survival mode and forget to fight for the better future that is possible. So we might be down here in the sewers, but our hopes and are our companions as the dirty little sewer rats. Who remembers the sewer rats of hope? Okay, yeah, I see a hand back there. Those dirty little sewer rats that refuse to give up, that drag themselves through the muck to transform the world with the tooth and claw of compassion and justice. So what is the vision of the world that's yet to come that drags us from our dens to do the work of transformation? A hopeful vision of a world where everyone has enough food, has enough clean water and shelter, those very simple things. A world where tragedies and traumas are honored and mourned, and those who are grieving are given time to heal and repair with the help of family and friends. Maybe a world where technology is used to improve lives and processes while remaining open source and widely available at low cost. A world where no one is allowed to collect wealth beyond their wildest imaginings, but where resources are shared freely and equitably. A world where no one is forced to do work for pay, but people are free to work at the things that bring them joy and bring the world more complexity and wonder. I'm curious. What would you envision for your utopia? Would it be a sci-fi space fantasy about a multi-species crew exploring the universe together? Maybe a hyper-local, low-technology world deeply interrelated and free to explore the existential nature of reality. This world, but just with more safety nets? Want to shout out your visions? Nope.
Well, you already said mine.
Yeah. When we realize that the future we're looking for is beginning right now, in this moment, it reminds me of this poem by T.S. Eliot. What we call the beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. We start where we end when we start, and we are looking back. We can learn how to look forward anew, just like Harold and his purple crayon. So may we find ways to heal ourselves from our past and be in our present so we can get to the future together in one piece. Will you join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation, finding a comfortable place for your body, whatever that is for you? Noticing your breathing. Finding your center. I'd like to share a prayer with you by Barbara J. Pescan. Spirit of life, whom we have called by many names, both in thanksgiving and in anguish. Bless the poets and those who mourn. Send peace for the soldiers who did not make the wars, but whose lives were consumed by them. Let strong trees grow above graves far from home. Breathe through the arms of their branches. The earth will swallow your tears while the dead sing, "No more, never again, remember me." For the wounded ones and those who receive them back, let there be someone ready when the memories come, when the scars pull and the buried metal moves, and forgiveness for all of those of us who are not there in our ignorance. Give us courage to answer the cry of humanity's pain, and with our bare hands, out of full hearts, and with all our intelligence and heart, let us create the peace we need. Amen. We hold in love and light the 3 people who died in the attack on the Islamic Center in San Diego and the 2 teenage shooters who took their own lives. We hold in love and light the families of those lost and all of the teachers and children of the school on premises who will live with this memory for the rest of their lives. We hold all who are struggling and all who care for them. We offer love and strength, kindness and compassion. Amen. Will you rise in body or spirit to sing with me our closing hymn, This Is Our Song, number 159 in the gray hardcover hymnal. End of our service, I invite you to reach out to those around you in any way that feels comfortable so that we are all connected. When you go, remember the dead, remember to imagine a beautiful life. When you go, go in peace.
Salam and shalom. Leave this place knowing that you are good and knowing that you are loved. Blessed be.
And take your dark and your light and your love from this place and share them with the world. And stay safe until we meet again. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy coffee hour and conversation, and have a great week.